Okay, good morning and namaste to everyone. So let's start our Tuesday's class with some Vedic mantras first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhava Swaha, Tatsavitruvarenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. अस्तो मा सद्गम्य तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्य मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गम्य ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति 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 ओम. So Tuesdays we study Narada Bhakti Sutra these days. We are on the third chapter, and in the second section of the third chapter, we saw the benefit of satsang. It's almost like a magic of satsang when we are in the company of good people, and good in the sense sattvic people, and especially in the company of our Guru. So he says, you will definitely have the effect of that. So that's why it's called a magic of satsang. So now we are in this world, we meet all kinds of people. And if we meet a tamasic person, what is the effect of that? And what should we do? So that's why in this section, in verses 43, 44, and 45, Narad is giving us the danger of dusang or kusang. So sometimes it's used dusang, sometimes kusang. So over here in verse number 43, Narad is using the word dusang. Dusangaha sarvatha tyajya eva. So dusang is the evil company, the bad company, the tamasic company, or even a rajasic company, the worldly company. Sarvatha, by all means, tyajya, to be renounced. Ev means only. So the dusang is only fit to be renounced by all means. Sarvatha, all means. So companionship of the good helps us to live gracefully in the spiritual path because they generate God remembrance in us from their behavior, sometimes what they say to us. Our own negative vasanas, they get exhausted with a good company. But evil company works upon us just in the opposite way. The companionship with the evil-minded or the sensual people can create in us the similar kind of a thoughts, generate more and more of the negative vasanas. And under the compulsion of those kind of a vasanas, our mind becomes endlessly agitated. We cannot see it clearly. We cannot decide it clearly. Then how will we reach our goal? So that's why Narad is saying, by all means. That means do whatever you need to do. Sometimes diplomatically, sometimes you just have to make a decision to move away. Because we must cultivate the company of the good and must shun all associations with evil company. I think you all know that we are the average of the 5 people we spend most of our time with. So we got to look at it. Whose company we are keeping? Because what happens, bad habits from the people we associate with, they make our mind worldly, and those negative tendencies, negative habits, they will eat up our own sadhana. Without even us knowing, without us realizing, we learn bad habits from our friends. Initially, maybe we don't want to do it, but ultimately we start doing the same thing. So, kusang is adverse association, while the satsang is taking us towards God. Kusang takes our mind towards the world. So, if we have decided to progress on this path, we got to be very careful. Always remember that blind man's story. One blind man he was making a rope out of a grass. He spent an hour doing it. And there was a buffalo standing behind him who was eating up the grass. And blind man could not see the buffalo. After 1 hour of making the rope, he thought that he made enough rope for his use. But when he checked it out, it was not enough at all because a buffalo ate it. Similarly, if we are not careful to avoid kusang, it will eat up our sadhana. It's like in the morning we are doing our sadhana, but all day long we could be in the company of some worldly people, or sometimes it's not just the people alone, it could be the magazines, the TV shows, the movies. Though that's also a sangha. So the effect of all that sadhana we did in the morning gets eaten up. That's how we waste our Atam Shakti. Sometimes we waste our energy to make worldly people happy. So that's why Narada is saying, don't waste your energy on that. Do bare minimum in the worldly sphere. Because sometimes we get involved into the unnecessary things also to make worldly people happy. And when we are with worldly people, if they are not looking at faults in us, we start looking at the faults in them. And that's how we reduce our energy. So kusanga. So look at the faults within you. Don't find faults in others. It will only enhance pride in you. So Bible says, take out the log in your own eye instead of taking out the blade of grass in others. So when we have too much association with the worldly people, this is going to happen. Okay, so sadhana should be removing our own faults, moving upward, connecting with the higher. Then in the next verses, so I told you 43, 44, and 45. He's telling us stay away from the worldly company. So 44. Kam, Krodha, Moh, Samriti, Brahma, Buddhi, Nash, Sarvanash, Karantvat. Kam means lust. Krodh is anger. Moh is delusion. Samriti Vibhramaha, loss of memory. Buddhi Nash, loss of discrimination, intelligence. Sarvanash, utter ruin. Karantvat, being the cause for. So Narad is saying, says, look at the connection with this verse with the previous verse. So he says, by all means, let go of the company of the evil. So he says, because it is the cause for creating lust, anger, delusion, loss of memory, loss of discrimination, and ultimately our utter ruin. So, cause for creating lust, sensuality, worldliness. So, the evil companionship is to be strictly avoided. Otherwise, the various stages of inner decay ultimately happens in us. And at the end, we are ruined. So very clearly, this sutra is explaining why exactly we must give up the evil company. Very definite and very logical psychological stages and the final disaster of the individual personality in each one of us. Same thing Lord Krishna mentioned in Bhagavad Gita too. Over there, he did not talk about the evil company, but he said that if you keep on thinking about the objects, so sometimes other people, because of other people, and often it's because of our own mind. So evil company always, at all times, in all conditions, in all circumstances, must be totally given up and completely avoided. Not from arrogance that I am better than others, not finding faults in them. It's because you have chosen to do your practice, your sadhana. It's because of that. So he's making us aware. Evil company brings into our mind sensuous thoughts. It's like an almost irresistible lust. Sometimes it could be for a particular object or a place or a thing or a person. It could be anything. And it just takes your attention away. Because we want easy gratification. Quick and easy. And when this is not available, that's where the anger comes. That's why he gave us this calm, krodh, moho. And when the anger mounts up, the delusion starts. Unreasonably angry person starts seeing things which are not really around him in life. That's a delusion. And at this stage, in the madness of his passionate self, deluding anger, he comes to lose all his memories. Angry person doesn't even know what to say, what not to say. Smriti vibhrama. And that means if the memory is gone, rational intellect, discrimination has gone away too. It has been robbed. So when this rational instrument of judgment, this intellect is disturbed, person is no longer a human being. He becomes a brute. Sarvanasha. Sarvanasha. So we got to remember this entire fall, and we got to remember what is the initial cause of it. In the bad company, it could be a TV, it could be a book, it could be a magazine, it could be a human being. Anybody. Okay. So the direct influence of the evil companionship is the creation of these perversions and the consequent ruin of a total human personality. So that's why, that is the reason Naradji is very vehemently insisting that by all means, at all times, you are a spiritual seeker, you should shun wrong contacts with the evil company. Okay, whether you call it a dusang or kusang. Normally what happens, we relish that. And we justify that. Because kusang gives us immediate happiness. sitting with the friends, talking about something, gossiping. It just gives an immediate satisfaction and we fall for it. But he's warning us. He's warning us because we don't want to go down. We should keep our vivek. We should always remember what our purpose of life is. In the Vedas, the rishis, they have said, Tat vismaranat bhekevat. If you forget the purpose of your life, you descend to animalhood. You came here to move towards the godhood, but you forgot that. And because of this downward slope, became like an animal. So Naradji says, there are so many faults of this kusanga. Kusanga. And now, continuation of this, because we always think that, hey, what difference does it make? Or one worldly book, one worldly relationship, one worldly movie, what it's going to make it? It's not going to make much difference. I'm stronger than that. Naradji is answering that in the next verse. He says, Trangayataha api ime sangan samudra ayanti. Trangyata. Trang means a ripple or little wave. So acting as ripples. Api means though, ime means these, sangan by contact and contact of the evil contact, worldly contact. Sumudrayantihi becomes like an ocean. He says, though appearing as a ripple in the beginning, these means whatever he said in the last verse, anger, lust, etc., by evil companionship can become an ocean. An ocean. So in the beginning, they look very weak. They have a false look of innocence on them. One time going out and not letting my sadhana, it's not going to hurt anybody. If I don't do my nightly prayers, so what? I can watch a movie. Or I can be in the company of some people. Looks like a ripple, but it becomes an ocean. One thought, one day, 1 hour lost, you are sliding down and then can't even catch it. So on a very face, all these tendencies, they look harmless. But when these urges are fed by the atmosphere provided by the evil company, they can soon grow into a tornado actually. That tornado will churn up mighty tidal waves. That's what happens. Washing away everything in front of their, whatever comes in front of them. It's almost like an innocent looking spark of the fire. If we cannot control it under the favorable conditions, that can flare up into the unconquerable wildfire. That wildfire, it started from a spark, can destroy the towns and towns and towns, and we see that in this country. That's why people take precautions. Few weeks ago, I did a wedding in Denver. Law over there. Wedding is outside. You really cannot have fire. Hindu wedding cannot be done without fire. So I had a fire pit. The fire was just very small at the bottom. So these are the precautions people take. But over here, we got to take the precaution inside us. We don't want to go towards where we lose all our sadhana. Okay. So in the beginning, we think that it's just a little bit, it's innocent, but it becomes big. Before we know it, momentum of their own will soon become formidable indeed. So the company of the good, satsang, is the antidote that is a positive plan. So it's not that we should not have the company. As human beings, we are the beings who like to have company. So make sure that you select the right company. That is a positive plan of action to cultivate higher values, which will help us in our spiritual unfoldment. But if this is not available, suppose we cannot have a satsang, then definitely avoid the bad company. You can pray to God to give you the opportunity for a satsang. But do not replace satsang with a worldly sang. Because we know that we are living in two worlds, internal world and external world. Internal world is created by us, my own mind, my own chit, and external world is created by God. Okay. Normally, problems we face are because of the internal world, our thoughts, our judgments, our emotions. But we blame the external world. So be careful. So aim of the sadhana is to finish the internal world, not the external world. So in external world, all those worldly people or worldly things are there, let them be. You are responsible for your internal world. So if there is a small wave in the internal world, and you become careless, it can become an ocean. That's what he's talking about. It's not outer tornadoes or outer hurricanes he's talking about, it's internal. Story of one of the rishis, you all remember, hopefully, Rishi Sobri from Bhagavad Puran. He did his sadhana, moved away from the world, built an ashram, lived there alone by the side of the river. In the morning, he'll do his oblations and pray. One day, when he opened his eyes, he just saw a fish, mother fish with a baby fish, swimming in there and so happy. That was the little ripple. He said, this fish, mother fish is so happy. I have never found that kind of happiness. I moved away from the world. A ripple became a big wave, big tornado. He wanted to get married. And you all know the story, how he ended up marrying 50 princesses. And this story, not only in Bhagavad Puran, it comes in the Rig Veda also. There is a mantra which is called Saubhari Sutra. There is a Saubhari Sanhita also. It is that famous. Ultimately, after thousands of years went by and he realized what happened. I used to do Jal Samadhi, and here I got involved with that desire to have children and wasted all that time. So there is no use, no end in avoiding or blaming others, but we got to look at it, what is inside us. Be in the right company where we can get encouragement to move up. And wherever we see that we are getting disturbed and moving towards away from this ultimate goal, retract, avoid it. That's what he's saying. So now in next section, which is 46, 47, and 48, means for love who crosses Maya. Because we need to cross this Maya. Maya is the one which is keeping us worldly. How do we really cross this? So he is going to give us several verses and several ways, one by one. How can we cross Maya? Katarti mayam ya sangam tyajati ya mahanubhavam sevate nirmamo bhavati. Ka means who, tarti means crosses. So again he says Katarti, mayam, Maya. Ya means who, sangam, attached to sense objects. Tyajati, renounces. Ya means who, mahanubhavam sevate. Mahanubhav is great masters. Sevate, serves. Nirmamo, free from sense of possession. Nirmam. We often talk about mum word. Mum means mine. So that's why I said free from a sense of possession, that this is mine. Nirmamo. Bhavati means becomes. Who crosses Maya? So this is a question. We got to see who crosses Maya, because we want to cross Maya. Then we learn from other people, or we learn from these rishis who are telling us who crosses Maya. This is who crosses Maya, who really crosses Maya. Number one, he who gives up all attachments to sense objects. Number two, he who serves the great masters. And number three, he who renounces all sense of possessions in himself. There's a continuation of this verse in the next 2-3 verses too. But in this verse, he's giving us three. So in the last 8 sutras, Naradaji enumerated these conditions which will bring the seeker to the supreme devotion. So now in Sutra 46 to 50, he is stressing again that love alone ultimately leads a person to his final liberation. So by cultivating these qualities, we are increasing the love for God. Okay. So who crosses the Maya? Because we know, we have been told, even Lord Krishna said Maya is very, very powerful. Duratya. That's what Lord Krishna said. Mam Maya. He says it's mine and it's very hard to cross. But Naradaji is telling us how to cross. So who crosses? Who crosses the Maya? Because it's difficult to go beyond. How can we cross it and get real devotion? Fulfillment of our devotion? Is there anybody who can cross the Maya? Is it really possible to exhaust these vasanas? Because vasanas are the Maya. So Naradaji is answering this. Number one, he who renounces all attachment, sang, to the world of objects. Because this is a false relationship we are having. We think all these objects are ours. Detachment. Because it's not because of the objects of the world that there is Maya. It is because of our attachment to the objects. It is like a false mental relationship we keep with the objects of the world, which makes us cling to these objects. And we get deceived. We get deceived that I am gaining the pleasure or the happiness because of the objects. So that's why every day, instead of exhausting our relationship with these objects, we keep on fattening our vasanas. We got to look at it. Our attachment to the object, how much was it in the past? And how much is it now? A seeker need to succeed in this. That nothing is mine. Because we know that this is the, again and again, no matter which scripture we pick up, they are saying the detachment, vairagya is needed. So we got to understand it at our level. It's okay for the things to stay where they are, but they should not take roots in our own mind. That's what that sangam tyajati means. You don't have to throw things out, but let them be where they are, not in our own mind. Any given time, look at your mind. What are you thinking? Where your mind is. So the false relationship we keep with the object of the world, we need to let go. And the second thing he says, Mahanu bhavam sevate. Those teachers, large-hearted teachers, who have realized the Brahma, so those are the Mahanubhava. These great souls, we need to be in company with. That's what Naraji said earlier also. Because these people, they have dedicated themselves to the Lord. So when we are in the company of these people, we just get the similar kind of energy. So in the service of the master, a person has to come, and that's how we imbibe the wisdom. We look at it how that Mahanubhav is living. What is his relationship with the worldly objects, worldly people, worldly situations? See, live example. From a live example, we can really follow, we can emulate. So the real, what is the real service? Why did he say sevate? Because a person who is totally engrossed in Brahma, does that person need our seva? No. Who are we to do the seva to this kind of a personality? But on the other hand, the real service to the Guru or Mahanubhav is to try to understand his words, his ideas, to reflect upon those ideas and strive our best to live up to them. It's not just having a guru in our life, but what Guru says, how much we understand and how much we are living the Guru's words. This is called the seva of a Mahanubhav. The great rishis of old, the prophets of the world, this is what they said. So service to the teacher is considered as something done. So we think we are doing a favor to the Guru. Guru doesn't need any favor. Guru is connected with God. So the highest seva is do what Guru says. But once you clutch off your own attachment to the objects, and having removed the mind's sangam from the present world of sensuality, do not hold your mind in empty idleness. Because if you're not thinking about the objects and you are paying attention to what Guru says, only then you'll be able to work on those truths. So this is like a mind withdrawn from attachment. If we immediately do not use it for a higher values, mind will slowly, because mind is made out of material energy, it will just go into the material energy again. Okay, so this purified mind loses its capacity to keep that sense of myness with others. Because myness is our relationship with the possessions, with the world. We cannot get rid of the possessions. But I have purified my mind. This is not mine. Then what do? I listen to what Guru says. Then do what Guru says. Okay. So remember that nobody is bound by one's possessions. It is the mental slavery to our possessions which shackles us. Okay. And the third one he says, nirmamo bhavati. So this is the lack of possessiveness. So this is what Guru teaches us. So sangam tyajati, mahanubhavam sevate, nirmamo bhavati. Okay, so it's like a enjoying the higher and staying away from myness. That this is mine. So they go hand in hand. It's almost like a ladder which makes us go up and up and up. So who crosses? Who crosses the Maya? He who clutches off from his worldly attachments. So it's like a series of sutras Narada is giving us about detachment for a person who crosses Maya. And what is actually Maya? It is an energy of God. That's why Lord Krishna said, Mam Maya. See, it's very hard to understand Maya, but just remember there's a divine energy which is called Yog Maya. Yog Maya. All powerful. Yog Maya. Yog Maya is the power of God. Then there's a material energy which is called just Maya. And this material energy, Maya has a Satvikta, Rajasikta, Tamsikta. Yog Maya is beyond that. So Yog Maya, and then us, Jeeves. Sure, the Jeev has the Atma in there. You say Ansh of that Anshi. But that Ansh of Anshi is entrapped in the Maya. And the sadhana is about getting cross over this Maya. So his Narada is teaching us how to cross over this Maya, this worldly Maya he is talking about. Not the Yoga Maya, but the worldly Maya. Okay? So uh, cut the attachment to the world, serve the saints, Mahanubhav. See, when we serve, humility comes inside us. And this humility, through humility, we get the grace from a Guru and God. Humility. With arrogance, we can never get the grace. But the humility is the one which brings that. Okay? And then after that, nothing is mine. Nirmama. Nirmama. There's a Christian saint, Francis of Assisi. What did he say? It's a very popular saying. I'm sure you have read this before. Let me read it. Oh Lord, let me seek not so much to be consoled as to console. It's like a helping others. To be understood as to understand. To be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. That it is in pardoning that we are pardoned. That it is dying to the little self that we are born to eternal life. Okay? So it's like a keep on becoming humbler and humbler, less and less attached to these worldly objects. That's how we cross over the Maya. Now, in the next verse, he gives us 4 more steps on this ladder. He says, Ya vivit sthanam sevate, य लोक बंधम उन्मूल्यति, य नित्रय गुण्याः भवति, य योग क्षेमम त्यजति. य means who, vivikta sathanam, solitary places, sevate, resorts to. Ya means who, lok bandham, bondage to the world of objects and being. Unmoolyati, uproots. Ya means who, nitre gunyaha, free from the three gunas. Bhavati becomes, ya means who, yoga kshemam. Over here, yog means acquisition and kshem means maintenance. This word has come in Bhagavad Gita also. Lord Krishna says, I give yoga and kshem both, what you don't have and power to keep what you have. Tyajati, renounces. So number 4, see, 3 we already discussed in the previous verse. So number 4 over here, he who keeps himself in a solitary place of quietude. Sadhana can be done only in a quiet place. Number 5, he who plucks off his bondage with the world by the roots. Unmoolyati. So not just cutting the leaves only, get the roots out too. Roots of the bondage. Number 6, he who goes beyond the influences of his gunas. So that means not just only getting rid of the tamsikta and the rajsikta, but even the satvikta. Because Atma is beyond all that. And number 7, he who renounces all his anxieties for acquiring and maintaining. So Narada is continuing and he says, this is how you let go of the Maya. Go to a quiet place, solitary place. Concentrate upon the Lord of his heart. Make sure there's no external disturbances and inner distractions also. It's not only outer, it's the inner where you are going. So sitting in a solitary place, freeing the mind from desires and controlling the senses, meditate with unswerving attention on the Atma, which is one without a second. This is what he's saying. So it is not a loneliness that is to be sought. It is aloneness that is to be achieved. Aloneness. Be alone with yourself. Okay? The fit environment for loneliness is not on a mountain top or in a quiet place, cave. To be alone with yourself, you have to be at your meditation seat, wherever you are. Wherever you are, in your own home, while doing everything else in life, whatever your duties are, the world is outside, it's external world. But when you are in your meditation seat, you are with yourself. Detach, be alone. That's what Narada is saying. And when you are alone, you are with the Atma. That is the lonely place. Vivikta Sathanam. Exactly same message we got from Lord Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita. At least 10 minutes a day. Not 24 hours, 10 minutes a day. Temporarily retreat into the within in ourselves. That's a practice we need to do. It's almost like a saying hello to ourselves. Feel our essential oneness with the God. Vivid deshaha seva nam. Only then we'll see that there is a true detachment from the false world of sense objects. If we have not done it, we have not felt it. We can say that I'm not attached, nothing means to me anything, but try sitting on your meditation seat. Try to connect with the God. Have some attunement with the infinite presence. Only there he says this by the root. So it's like a throwing away your hunger for the entire sensuous world of objects, emotions, and thoughts. Throw away your bondage, not only your contact with the world, but your very bondage with it, your total surrender to it. Ni tre gunyo bhavati. He becomes free from the three gunas if you do that. So with these three modes of nature, sattva, rajas, tamas, all types of vasanas, because we have over the countless lifetimes, there are some tamasic vasanas, some rajasic vasanas, some sattvic vasanas also. So he says, uproot all of them. Uproot. So a person who transcends all his vasanas is a true tyagi. This is the kind of a person who can renounce his ego. And after renouncing the ego, he can fully relinquish the anxiety in acquiring and maintaining things. Otherwise, constantly we are bombarded with these thoughts. I got to have this, and if I have it, how can I protect it for myself? That is a yoga and kshema. So, yoga is, in this context, the acquisition of things not yet acquired. So, I want something. And the shame is the preserving what has been acquired already. I have it. How can I keep on holding on to it? So Narad is saying, just transcend that. Let that go. Because otherwise, from morning till evening, we search for happiness through wealth, position, name, relationships, house, furniture. I can have this, then I'll be happy. Have faith in the words of Lord. Lord Krishna said in the Gita, to those people who worship me alone, that means who have love for me alone, thinking of no other, to those ever self-controlled, I secure that which is not already possessed and preserve what they already possess. So he says, I take care of you. You just do your duty. That's all. In your mind, just keep me there. Tesham nitya viyukta nam yoga kshemam vahamyam. I give everything. I take care of you. So from this verse, we learn that, hey, every day go into isolation. Make your mind still, calm. Whether you are taking a vow of silence for 15 minutes, or whether you are doing a meditation for 15, 20 minutes or 1 hour, whatever, wherever you start, but at least daily meditation, staying away from people. Internally, in your mind, you depend upon the material things and the people. Narad ji is saying, don't depend upon them. Heighten your sadhana so that you are just totally always think that God is protecting you. It's not that we have to break up the relationships, have the relationships, but internally depend upon only God. If you depend upon worldly things, we know that our mind is connected with them. We are losing our energy. We are losing our spirituality also. And when we depend upon God, He will never let us down. Never let us down. If God decides to save you, who can kill you? We know that. So this fear needs to go away. Internally depend upon God. He is your strength. Have faith. Remove the faith from the material crutches. Only then we can cross this Maya. Totally and completely surrender to Him. So next two verses also, He's going to give us a few more practices. These are almost practices we need to do. This is nothing we need to memorize. The practices we need to do. Altogether, there are 12 of them. I mean, sure, some of this he talked about earlier also, but he's emphasizing again that if we want to cultivate more bhakti, this is what we need to do. Okay, so let me stop it here and do the Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much. So, any question, comment, something you want to add, or something you did not understand? After that,
Hershi, namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar, friend.
Hershi, can you talk a little bit about Yog Maya?
Yeah, Yoga Maya is beyond the Prakriti. Okay, see, Prakriti is also called Maya, right? Yoga Maya is a higher level. This is the energy God uses to create anything. That's a Yoga Maya.
Is it possible to give me an example so I can understand in concrete?
Okay. How did from a fetus of Devaki, it got moved from Devaki to Rohini? Yoga Maya. Otherwise, Vasudev and Devaki, where were they? In a prison.
Right.
How did that seventh child of Devaki took birth in Rohini's womb?
Yeah.
Because that Yoga Maya was told by the Narayan, the God himself. Okay. Those miracles which happen. That's a Yoga Maya. How did in the Mahabharata, Lord Krishna, he is the one who took the
son.
That son also, when there was a time.
Yeah.
Lifted the chariot wheel also up. So all those things, that is a Yoga Maya.
I see.
It's a God's power.
Okay.
So it is beyond the Prakriti, beyond the clutches of the Prakriti. That's why Yoga Maya is very hard to understand with this. We are trying to think and logically think with the help of the Maya. Because our intellect is made out of Prakriti, the Maya.
Right, right.
This you can understand the effect of it by surrendering.
So we there's nothing we can practice about this at all. We can only admire it and be.
You can admire it, love it, and feel awe about it, and then all of a sudden you'll say, "Yes, oh gosh, I knew it all along."
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You can do God. You can do anything and everything.
God can do anything and everything, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
these are the miracles happen because of this yoga
Yeah.
maya.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Yes,
Namaste.
Jyoti.
Pramila has a question. Pramila.
Yes, Pramila.
Um, Hershey, very good class. This is similar question what Premji asked you. Something to do with nirva bhakti. You said something about energy of God, the sequence, Jeev, something, the sequence, energy of God, and then power of God. And the sequence I didn't follow.
The
Could you?
sequence is it's just like as a jiva, we feel we are uh, it's like under the clutches of Maya. Even though there's a Atma, we are the Atma, but we don't recognize ourselves as the Atma. We feel that we are entrapped by this Maya. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So it's just like a soul, even though it's part of God, but and then higher than that is a Maya, which has Satvikta, Rajsikta, Tamsikta. Higher than that is what? A divine energy, which is a Maya. And higher than that is what? God.
Okay.
Okay. So it's just like our sadhana. What is our sadhana? To declutch ourselves from the Maya first, then we will
Uh-huh.
feel the energy of God, and then we will, because ultimately we are one with God. So this sadhana takes us towards that. But we have to internally, we got to declutch ourselves. Okay.
So,
This is what is teaching us. And
yeah, no,
it
I
starts.
understand that, but I don't understand the sequence, how we fall into the place.
Yeah, we just fell into it because we start thinking about the objects, anything non-godly, we think that's godly. It's our um, wrong understanding. We just got into this bondage and we got to get out of this bondage. Maya
Okay.
is a bondage. So he's telling us how to cross over this Maya.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sure.
Uh-huh.
Padmini.
Thank you.
Padmini.
Padmini has a question or she's going to sing?
No, I just have a quick question, Hershey. Namaste.
Namaste.
You know, you were talking about loneliness and being alone with yourself. So I'm trying to differentiate both of them. Loneliness is where you do feel alone, but then God is saying, you know, you need to be alone with yourself. So I was a little bit confused with that.
Okay. See, it's not a lonely.
Mm-hmm.
See, loneliness is you feel sorry for yourself. I'm lonely. Nobody cares for me. Nobody is there for me. I did so much for others, but I'm lonely. Nobody is there. Aloneness. It's a completeness.
Mm.
Like a detachment from anything else, anything which is not me. Alone. Kevalye. I am Atma. Sit and feel that.
Where you feel one with God.
That is a
One with God.
completeness.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So loneliness is opposite of that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
in meditation, that's how we should feel.
Mm.
That's how we should go on our meditation seat also. I am going to my meditation seat by detaching everything else. I'm not going to think about anything or anybody. I am Atma, which is
Atma.
part of Paramatma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
why daily practice like this is needed, and then we can be in the world and still we are in that state of mind.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Poonam.
Poonam.
Arjun, he is talking about getting rid of the kusang, whichever means. That was, I think, the very initial sutra we read. My question is, we might be in relationships where there is a lot of kusang, but then we are told, do your duty. How are we supposed to get ourselves, do the duty, and also run away from the kusang? Let's say somebody is really very, very worldly. It could be your spouse, it could be your in-laws, it could be anyone. And then on the other hand, we have duties that we are supposed to do for them. I mean, for ourselves, there is a duty. Then now we have a kusang, and we can get rid of that kusang.
Yeah. See, kusang, we don't have to let go. If it's our own kith and kin, for example.
Yeah, mostly it always is. That's the
Suppose if they are in a bad habit,
yeah.
We don't have to physically, we really don't need to break the relationship, but mentally we can. We got to just empower ourselves mentally.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's
Yes.
a very
It's just
long,
like
winding road.
their journey. It's their journey also, my journey. And this part right now, sure, physically we are together, but mentally we can still be
You
together.
just
That's
gave,
sadhana.
you gave an example. Let's say somebody likes a very violent, sexual, whatever movies, and they live within the same household. It is. I'm just giving an example. It isn't happening to me, but I'm just saying. Let's say, and then you are living within the small area, and that could be, somebody that you have a duty towards. And that sadhana has to be so intense. I guess it has to be really, you are on a fast pace then. It is not
Yes,
an easy
definitely.
sadhana.
That sadhana is intense sadhana will take
Intense
you through
sadhana.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Keep praying to God. That God, duty you must do. You cannot run away from the duty, because if you run away from the duty, it's going to come back. Some shape or form, you'll have to deal with it.
But then my
Right.
next question was that that is where it was leading. That is it more important to be dutiful to myself, my reaching that goal, is my duty, that duty more important than being in the trying to do the worldly duty here?
In
So
my
isn't
opinion,
it important that I do my duty to
yeah,
myself?
to me, in my opinion, actually, duty to yourself is more important, because
Exactly.
that's where you will get the energy to deal with the other duties.
Yeah.
So that's why first thing in the morning we do duty to ourselves. Self-care is very important. If we think that, no, I got to just take care of the whole world and neglect myself, then you won't be able to go on this path for a long time. Okay, so duty to yourself is first. Don't they say that in the plane also put oxygen to yourself first?
Yeah.
Then to others? The same thing applies. Do the duty to yourself, and definitely do not ignore the other duties. Do those also, but get the energy from your self-care.
So you are saying we can discard those duties even though they are not serving us anything?
No, we got to be, if they are really your duty, if they are really, I mean, we got to have a clear enough mind to see, is this my duty, or am I just complicating my life and thinking that it's my duty?
Yeah. The story
But
of duty is very complicated for sure.
yeah. Like somebody called me this morning, and this person did say that they want something about